Hello, everyone. Good afternoon or good evening. My name is Susan Reyna. I am President CEO of Beacon Therapeutic. I'm here today with Alyse Biszewski, our early Head Start home visitor. And for the next 30 minutes, you'll be hearing about some of the great work that we're doing related to our early Head Start program at Beacon. This is a live call-in show, so if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to call. The number is 312-738-1060. And again, my name is Susan Reyna, and we represent Beacon Therapeutic. Just a little bit of background on Beacon. It was started in 1968 by a number of parents who were looking for special education services for their children. So since 1968, we've been developing our programs, and currently we have, in addition to our main location, which is 107th and Longwood, we also have several other locations that I will put up on the screen. Our administrative offices are located on 103rd and Longwood. All of our homeless services are delivered in the community, but the home base for the staff is on Western. We have our high school program that's in Calumet Park, and of course our elementary location that houses both our elementary school as well as our intensive outpatient programs. And our early Head Start program actually is located also on 103rd. It's actually right behind our office. So today we'll be talking to Alyse Biszewski, who will be talking about some of the great stuff we do as part of our early Head Start program. I won't put up all of our programs that we do, but I'm going to put up Beacon's mission, and our mission is to empower children and families by helping them find a better way to, finding a way to a better future through the provision of educational, mental health, and social services. Particularly today, we are going to be talking about our early Head Start program. So maybe before we do that, Alyse, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you got involved with Beacon.
Well, I actually went to the University of Iowa, and I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Psychology.
Or who is that?
That's the Hawkeyes.
Sorry.
And a Bachelor of Arts in Spanish. And I, for the last year and a half, have been working in the early childhood field. I started at CPS as a teacher's aide, and now I am a home visitor for Early Head Start. So that's pretty much my background so far. I'm kind of new into the field, but I'm very excited to be at Beacon.
Well, no, we're glad to have you, and I think particularly which of interest is that you're fluent in Spanish, which is wonderful, which is a big plus.
It's a big help, and actually that's added a lot to the program because I've been able to enroll families that are Spanish speaking, and that's something that the program wasn't able to do before I started working at Beacon. So
tell me a little bit about the program.
So the program is serving children 0 to 3 years of age, so it's infants and toddlers, and also pregnant mothers. And we do 90-minute visits once a week, and it's usually in the home, unless the family is homeless, which is typically some of the families, majority of our families actually are either homeless or have been at risk of being homeless. So at some point they have been. And then also on top of doing the once a week home visits, we offer bi-monthly socializations at our office, which are from 11 to 1, and it's the first and third Thursday of every month. And at those, we provide them with lunch and some type of parenting activity that gives them a little bit of education. It also allows them to interact with each other, and so that's the...
Well, and I think what's so exciting about the Early Head Start program is that this has really evolved from all of our other programs. So we mentioned our homeless programs, and within our homeless program, we have our shelter outreach services. So we're providing mobile mental health services to homeless women and children. And from that, we developed the FACT project, which has been in existence now for 4 years. It stands for Family Assertive Community Treatment, where we're working with young moms and children under the age of 5. And through that work, we really discovered that there's this whole homeless population that isn't accessing traditional services like Head Start. So through that relationship, we were able to identify some funding opportunities through the city for early Head Start programming, which is essentially, which you said, 0 to 3.
Right, and pregnant moms.
And pregnant moms. And I always forget about the 0. What does that mean, 0? Pregnant moms, 0 to 3. But then also the unique feature of this is that we're doing in-home or home-based early Head Start. Most Head Start programs are center-based, so which means folks go to the center and they get their services there. So what's unique and really makes a difference for this population is that we're going into the home and we're specifically targeting homeless or at risk of homeless moms. And I know Head Start has all kinds of other services. So it's, you described the 90-minute visits that you're doing. You're describing the socializations. But what other resources are delivered to the early Head Start moms?
Well, so because majority of our families are either homeless or have been homeless, we try to link them up with the other programs at Beacon, obviously, to try and get them, if they need mental health services or if they need help trying to find a medical provider, dental provider, obtaining their children's records, things like that are, really important. And, to get them enrolled in preschool, they're going to need those things. So we try and get those squared away with the family. And if they need any other type of assistance, sometimes we provide bus cards if the family needs to get to an appointment, and try and make sure that they're really getting the care that they need and supporting them when they need to get that. So it's, pulling from, yes, we are an educational program, but we also are pulling from the other services at our agency to give them more of a well-rounded, full service.
So what are some of the goals when you're going in there and doing 90 minutes? What do you do?
So typically when I would go into the home, depending on the age of the child, I would bring an activity that was educational and fun. So it's something that I want the parents to get involved in. It's something that they can sit on the ground. If it's, for example, let's say it's a 7-month-old infant. They're working on sitting, crawling, reaching, clapping their hands, stuff like that. So I would bring that type of an activity into the home, and I would encourage the mom to sit on the floor with her baby. And we would talk about watching the baby and making sure that she doesn't leave them unattended, or why it's important that the baby starts sitting on their own. Some parents sometimes think that their child should be walking sooner than crawling, so we would discuss that. So that would be the educational part of it. And then also the activity is because it's a 7-month-old baby, I'm bringing rattles or, a squishy type of toy that they can really squeeze in their hands, or they can shake around, hit something that's obviously age appropriate. So.
And I think what you're describing, it's finding opportunities for the mother and child to play.
Right. The parent attachment is a big part.
So, and that's what you're facilitating is parent attachment. But I also think, someone would say, okay, well, don't people normally do that?
Well, because our families have been homeless, they might not have been provided with the opportunity to do that with their child. They might not have had the space to sit down and put them on the floor. They might not have been shown how to do that because they grew up, let's say they had lived on the streets, so they were never taught by their mother to do that because that wasn't done with them. So this is something, it's a learning and a teaching experience. You kind of get to know your families, build a relationship, see what tools you have to work with, and go from there. You want to kind of develop what's already there. Obviously, the mothers love their children, and so it's just kind of helping them to establish that relationship with their child.
And how long can the families access this service?
The children are, the families can stay with us up until their child is 3 years of age. And then at 3 years of age, we work with them to transition into a Head Start program and or a preschool program, depending on what the children need. And also we utilize Little IOP as well, which is another Beacon program, if that is necessary.
And then the Little IOP is a program that's designed for 3 to 5-year-olds who need additional academic or need additional support, and these are kids who by and large can't really fit into a traditional Head Start model or a preschool model or something else. So they it is a nice bridge if they were to go through early Head Start, our Little IOP program, and then go on to preschool. And now, how many slots? I know Beacon has 30 slots. Is there a waiting list currently?
There is a waiting list, and we accept referrals from other Beacon programs. We accept them from our community partners. We also accept them. Have accepted referrals from other participants in our program. If they know somebody who is really in need of services, they have given us their contact information or put them in contact with us. And you can contact our supervisor, Kelly Hilly. She is at the Beacon office. Do you have
I was gonna put the contact information there. Okay. So in terms of how to access our services, you can contact the administrative offices at 773-298-1243, or you could visit the website at www.beacon-therapeutic.org. And you would be inquiring about the early Head Start services. I'm going to put some information particularly on, it's kind of a little hard to read. Tell me a little bit about the socializations.
So typically they are from 11 to 1. And what's happening is the parents are given an opportunity to bring their children with them. And it doesn't necessarily have to be just the children that are enrolled in our program. If there's older siblings that happen to be home for the day, sometimes there's 4-year-olds that are home, so they're a little bit older, but they're allowed to come with. And they come to our office, they have lunch, And this is a big thing for the family because typically if they're in a homeless shelter or they've lived on the streets, they haven't been given an opportunity to eat with their children at a table, or they haven't been given the opportunity to serve their children. So whereas you and I may think, okay, hey, this is normal, I'm just going to put the food on the table and have family-style meal, that's not something that's normal for them. So that's a huge thing for us because that's working on attachment and everything else that I've mentioned. And then also there is some type of educational activity. We have Mother's Day coming up, so for this socialization we made Mother's Day cards, and they're going to get to make a planter together with their kids. And so
there's corsages, I guess.
Yes, there's corsages, yes. And cake, which they think the families are going to be really excited about, but that's a surprise, so.
Don't tell anyone. Well, and so these socializations occur twice a month?
Twice a month. So it's usually the first and third Thursday of every month.
And then one of the things that's really important, I know, with this population, if we're really to deliver meaningful services, we have to overcome all the barriers and all the obstacles. So we provide transportation, right? We pick them up.
Right, we pick them up.
And then we've made it during the day, so it's reasonable for the kids. We accept all the kids, and of course, this is all free to them.
Right.
You know, it's all part of what, we're being funded for that service. And so how long do the socializations go for? Is it an hour, 2 hours, or it's...
Roughly, it's about 2 hours, I would say.
Yeah. And how many moms do we get? I know it probably varies.
It depends. So typically, ideally, it would be 5 families that would come, and that could be, one family could have 2 kids, 3 kids, depending. And at other times, it could just be, 2 families with 2 children. It just kind of depends on what the family is feeling at that time.
So the goal for this is, we do the home visit, so that's you and the mom and the child.
Right.
But then, with this, it's the opportunity for the kids to socialize with other kids, hence it's called socializations. And then also for the moms to socialize.
Right. And that works on too the peer education piece. So they're learning from each other. They're having like a discussion, and that's something that we really try to facilitate with the moms, is that they're all talking and discussing some type of topic, whether it be summer safety or, just normal conversations like how is your son doing, how is your daughter doing, stuff that they don't usually get to do.
Okay. Apparently we have a caller. Caller, you have a question?
Yes, hi. I am interested in the Early Head Start program. If we were to wanted to give some type of donations or in-kind things, what are some of the things you'd be looking for? What are some of the things that could enhance your program?
Oh, my God. Well, thank you, because that is a fabulous question. Because I think what we look at, one of the caveats for this program is that we have to provide a match. That's the funding piece of this. And so we are always looking for donations for this program in particular. And I just mentioned the corsages. A local church did this wonderful drive for us where they made corsages for the moms and they donated a cake. I mean, it's a very concrete thing. But we are also always looking for hygiene items, because I think part of what the home visitors do is that they like to bring something when they go and visit the moms.
Absolutely.
So we're always looking for donations for diapers, formula, baby items in general. I mean, we can talk about strollers.
That's a huge thing.
Strollers. I would imagine little grocery carts too.
Yes.
I mean, it's those kinds of things that moms would need of young children. And of course, monetary donations are always welcome, because in that way we can use some of that. We mentioned bus passes, buying these resources. So I think, both in-kind donations and, of course, monetary donations are always welcome. And I do know we do also have that fundraiser.
Yes.
And I always get the name wrong. It's Beacon Funds for Baby Buns.
Right.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about that fundraiser.
So at the fundraiser, we're raising funds, obviously, for our program, and it's at Cork and Cary. And this year, I believe that we are toying with the idea of having it August 10th. At the same place at Cork and Cary again. And we don't have all the details completely figured out yet, but at that we ask, you don't have to bring diapers, but if you can, that's also kind of like our diaper drive to try and get those for the families, because those are very, very important for the families. That's like gold to them. So.
So, and I think that's how the community can support the work. And I think that is really important, because it's a very concrete donation, but it's also something that the moms really benefit from.
Yes.
So great question. I'm going to put a slide up right now about the program governance, because I know that is very involved. So can you, some items: health services, nutrition, safe environments, transportation, disabilities, mental health. Can you tell me a little bit about the program governance and what all is involved with that?
Sure. So we really want to try and get the parents involved, and they're a huge part of our program governance. It's the Parent Policy Committee, and we have members from our caseloads or from our families that are participating in the Parent Policy Committee. And what we do with them is they are shown the budget, they are shown policies, they are even consulted when somebody is going to be hired. For example, when I was hired, I had to do my interview with the families as well as with my supervisors. So they're very, very much a part of our program governance, as well as it's a confidential program, so we also take into account, we have to have releases in order to obtain their medical records, stuff like that. And there's also, the families are shown their rights. They're given a right
Sure, it's a statement of rights.
Yeah, statements of rights, exactly. So
I'm going to put some pictures of our kids as you're talking. But I know part of and so the Early Head Start really emanates from Head Start, and it's a very strong commitment, it's a federal program, on parent involvement. So you mentioned the Parent Policy Committee. You mentioned that they have to approve the hiring and the firing of people. They approve the budget. They approve all kinds of things. But then there's also other services that are enrolled in that, in terms of nutrition and health. And can you talk a little bit about that? If we're looking at some of the other resources. So when we're looking at what we're doing for the kids, we're minding their health, their immunizations, all that kind of stuff.
So we have our supervisor is also in charge of the health and the nutrition, and so we provide evaluations. That's Kelly. We provide evaluations every 3 months. They're screenings. It's called ASQ, ASQSE, and these are for the children, and it's monitoring their developmental progress and also their social emotional progress.
And there's the team.
That is the team. And we're missing Donna, though. We have to get.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, we have. Yeah. So we're looking. So so the ASQ that you're describing, the ages and stages, right? That's
right. The ages and stages.
So it's monitoring the kids' development to make sure that they're moving along as should be.
Right, and so that's done every 3 months to make sure that they are keeping up with what's a normal progression for a child throughout their development. And based on those ASQ scores and ASQSE scores, we might refer them out to services such as early intervention through Child and Family Connections, and that is going to provide them with additional services. So that's kind of the mental health piece development, and then also in terms of nutrition, we have partnerships with other agencies where they give us guidelines. We're providing them with foods, especially at the socialization snacks that are nutritional. That's kind of another piece that we work on with the families, saying, let's try and give them more nutritious snacks versus going and buying chips or something like that. And then also, as I mentioned before, in terms of other additional services for the families, we do have other partnerships within the community, and we also utilize the programs at Beacon for the moms if there's something else that they need as well.
So something more intensive.
Right.
Now I know there's a strong commitment to best practices at Beacon overall, and I know recently you took a trip that really dovetailed into a best practice, and I'm really excited to hear about this. So you recently went to Italy.
I did, yes.
So tell me about that. How the heck did you end up in Italy?
So we applied to be a part of a project that is actually citywide. They're doing it within Head Start, Early Head Start, and any early childhood programs that any of the city facilities might be having. And what we did was we applied for the project, we got accepted, and it was to go to Reggio Emilia, Italy, which is in northern Italy. And what's going on in northern Italy, you might ask, is that they created this approach that is very child-focused. So it's this respect for the child where, the teachers and the parents are learning along with the child. So it's this relationship, and it's a focus on this relationship. And it also pulls into the environments that the children are in. So you want to give them these different experiences, even at a very young age. We might not think that giving a glass jar to an 8-month-old is a good idea. So they did that. Obviously it's supervised, but that was something that they did. And it's this whole trust in the child to figure out how to work with that type of an object. And during this whole process, their teachers are observing the children. So we were able to go into the centers, and we were able to go and see actually the children and the teachers working together and how they related to each other and this relationship that they formed. And it's really, really interesting. And also there's this huge support of the community. That's a huge part of it. When we talk about community in our own agency, that was something that really hit home with us, is this sense of community that they have there. There's a huge support for the education services for those children. And it's for everybody. It's not just for somebody that might be wealthy or somebody that might be, at risk. It's for everybody. So, which is really interesting.
So was this model, what's it called?
It's the Reggio Emilia approach to learning.
So it's essentially, it's a philosophical orientation
Yes.
that permeates all the schools, or this is like a focus in one of the schools and they really feel this is working?
There's several centers that they have. It's very popular within this town. Not every student goes to these facilities, and there are very big wait lists for them. But once they start in it, they usually stay with it up until the time they turn 6 years old. And once they turn 6 years old, then they're mainstreamed back into the regular schools. So it's a very interesting, different approach, but it was very, very nice to see.
Oh, I could imagine. It's in Italy. So what have they measured some outcomes associated with it?
We asked about that, and they're doing observations day to day. So they haven't really done like what we would consider a study that was over time. They have looked into outcomes later on, and they are working with the local school system to implement some of their ideas, because their early childhood facilities are definitely very open, and the children are allowed to kind of choose more than what we would typically think. It's not the teacher choosing for them, it's them kind of guiding the teacher in what direction they want to go in. So they're working with their mainstream schools to kind of implement those ideas into their programs, so that it's not such a stark transition for the children going from 6-year-old that can build a tower if he wants to, instead of sitting at a desk and writing papers. So they haven't done any specific studies, but they are working on doing that.
Were there some specific techniques that you walked away with that you're implementing now, or you feel you can implement?
Absolutely. Just in terms of the materials alone, and watching the children and having that respect that the child, and that trust in the child, that the child knows what they're doing. And, you know, when a baby's first learning to walk, instantly everybody's like, oh no, don't fall, and is rushing to their aid. When we were there and we watched them, they were given the opportunity, if they did fall, let's see if they're going to get up. What are they going to do? And so that was something that really impacted me, to give them that time, because that really showed the child, you know, okay, I fell, but I'm okay. I'm going to get back up and try again, as opposed to someone rushing in and grabbing
Scooping
them.
them up, yeah.
So that really impacted me. And then, like I said, the materials that they used with the children, they had fresh flowers, they had grass, they had, you know, pine needles, stuff that I would never think to bring out to a visit. That was really, really interesting.
Interesting. It sounds very reasonable when you think of, you know, resources being absent for a lot of our families. So what do you have there that you can use, absent, you know, going and bringing a box of toys or something? I mean, pine needles or whatever.
Right. Well, so, and then also too, as part of the program, they're going to give us a grant in order to implement this into the program. So that's something that Rachel, so I wasn't the only one that went. My colleague Rachel Wasson also went with, and that's something that we've talked about, how we're going to implement this into our program. And another thing that we talked about is really getting the community involved, because that's such a huge part of their approach, and such a huge part of their community there, is making sure that everybody is together and understanding, and, you know, that those social relationships. So we're talking about trying to, with the limited resources we have, bringing something into the home and then displaying that for the community. So that's something we're kind
great. No, I'm eager to hear more and what's going to be the continuation of that, of the work. You know, so I know we only have a few minutes left, and I know you mentioned you weren't the only one that went. So how long were you there for?
We were there for a week, and it was myself and, like I said, my colleague Rachel, and then we were also with 50 other different men and women that are from the city of Chicago and from other programs within the city here.
Okay. So we have about a minute left. So thank you so much for being here. Are there any other comments or, I don't know, thoughts you have before we wrap up the show?
Well, actually, a caller called in and was asking about donations. If you guys have any donations, please contact our development director or contact our business office and let us know. We can always use strollers. We can always use diapers. We can use clothes, a monetary donation, anything like that. That's really going to help. I mean, you're talking about homeless babies, homeless toddlers, and their parents and their families, and that's something that's really, really important.
Yeah. What I'd like to do is put on the overhead just information about a fundraiser, but on this, we also have the information for Peggy Rourke, who is our development director, and she can be reached at 773-298-6441, and she will do anything to go out and get these resources, I know. So, I think, that is an excellent plea in terms of we really do have a need just for basic items. We're not asking for much. This also highlights a fundraiser coming up July 26th at Joe's on Weed Street. It's our Beacon Bash, and it goes to our homeless programs, and some of the revenues also would be used for our Early Head Start program. Well, Alyse, time is wrapped up, so I'd like to thank you very much for joining us today, and it was great having you, and next time we'll have you on, and we'll bring up tons of pictures of our kids.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.